Hey everyone, so we're 4 weeks in. You can see behind me, the patio is just a complete mess of tools and supplies. But in this video, I'm going to start by showing you some things about the design that I don't like. It's not coming out the way I wanted it to. I'm going to rip out some of the cabinet framing and lower the whole thing. I'm really having a height problem. I've also completely rethought the insulation. Let me show you why. So I'll flip the camera around, go over there, and show you what we're gonna do during this episode. Stay tuned. Let me show you what the problem is. It's height. The concrete base is 1.5 inches over here and over 4 inches over here. And even though the finished frame is lower than the granite, this is where the granite used to be. Granite is 1.25 inches. So the finished countertop height would be 1.25 inches on top of this. Well, then we have to add the 1 inch that the side burner sits on top of the granite, and then the 1.25 inches that the grates are. So now we have 2.25 more inches of height combined with an already too tall cabinet, and it's just too tall. It's too tall to cook something up here and have it be comfortable. The sink is at a perfect height, but the whole thing needs to come down as far as I can get it. The other problem is this insulation. Even though I thought it was a good idea, and 2 people at Alfresco said it wasn't necessary, I put it in anyway. And now I'm realizing it's gonna get soaking wet. We had a rainstorm the other night. The rain, of course, comes in from the screen sideways, and water will still make it around the grill, where the grill sits right here. It'll drip down onto this concrete board, which will drip down into the insulation. It'll get it wet, and it'll just create a place for mold and bugs, and so I'm ripping it out. The benefit also of ripping it out is I gain 1/4 inch of thickness here, and I'm going to replace these 3 with 1 inch thick. I'm gonna double them up. I'll show you in the video. I'm gonna double them up so they're very strong. It's actually right over here. This is the 1 inch box beam. And if you double it up like this, if you double it up like this and screw it together, you end up with a very strong, about 1 1/8 inch thick beam, which I will get quite a bit of benefit out of. I'll cut 1 inch out of here, I'll cut 1/4 inch out of here, and then this actually will drop down. So I stand to gain about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of countertop height, which will make the sink slightly low. It'll be fine, but it'll bring the grill down and the side burner down to a height that's really much better. So that's what we're gonna do in this episode, is start dismantling. The joys of doing something from scratch. All right, I'm actually having a beer while I'm doing the voiceover. So if you hear me swigging away, it's because I'm wiped. This was actually a lot of work. Working with this aluminum is, if you do it for a living, I guess you know that you've got to get those little brackets in perfectly. I was actually watching a YouTube video on somebody who knows how to weld, and they made basically what I'm doing. It was a much bigger kitchen. It was beautiful. But they did what I'm doing with aluminum tubing, and they just welded it. And, they clamped it all up, welded it. They had the whole thing done in a day. It was pretty impressive. I don't know how to weld, and I have to use this screen tubing, but if you don't get these little L brackets in exactly the right spot, the aluminum doesn't touch, right? So your measurements are off. And if you have a long span, your level is off. It's really kind of a pain. But anyway, this is just dismantling the thing and getting rid of all of the insulation. And I thought maybe I could use a little bit of the framing, but I ended up just completely rebuilding it, and this was the first piece that I did. Off camera there, I'm dismantling. And I also made it much more sensibly. You know, it's 3 uprights and a header beam and a base beam. What I did last time was put all these little pieces together, and it was really way too many of the angle brackets and a bunch of just extra wasted time and energy. So this was much more efficient, and I really needed to go through this process and build it twice to figure out what I was doing. The second time you do something, it's always better, right? And this was the second time. So anyway, everything is based off of that rectangle right there, and that was the first thing. And if I knew what I was doing in the first place, I would have just started here. The other thing, what I was doing is building the frame as if it was a cabinet, right? And you were putting the cabinet in place, and then you were going to shim it later. And that doesn't really work that well with this aluminum product. In my opinion, it's much better to just build it right in place, because shimming it doesn't really work. You know, you're building it out of aluminum on purpose to have nothing flammable in there, nothing that's going to rust or rot. And what I found is in the original design, I was putting these little aluminum shims in, and it's totally unnecessary if you just build the thing based on your finished concrete base and your finished wall. So you're really building it not square to end up square. Another thing I discovered while rebuilding it is stretching these beams all the way under the grill, the sink, and the side burner was way more efficient. It kept a level surface, it's stronger, there's less angle connectors. It was just really much better to do it this way. So anyway, I'll stop talking. I'm going to drink some of my beer here and watch the time lapse, and I'll chime back in when I do something that I think deserves some commentary. Right about here, I'm half committing to just doing it all from scratch. And I'm trying to use these beams from the original, the uprights that hold the granite. I really hadn't fully committed to dismantling everything and doing it all over again. But as I keep doing it, I just keep taking apart more and more of what I already did. I ran into a problem with these beams because I bought 8-foot beams, and had I bought 10-foot beams, or 12, I can't remember what else was at Home Depot, but because I bought the shorter ones, they don't actually reach all the way across. Ideally, they would have been about 2 inches longer, and I'm kind of realizing that and trying to figure out how to deal with it, and whether or not I want to run the beam all the way to the wall or just to the upright there over the little chest of drawers. And I decided to just run it all the way to the wall. And I haven't taken out that side wall there on the left. I'm about to do that because I'm still trying to save something, right? But Anyway, I ended up just completely taking everything apart. I was able to, another neat thing about making the beams all the way across is I was able to put the side burner and the sink kind of in position. And I found out that the drawing is not actually accurate. When I switch to video, I'll show you this. The sink is maybe 8.5, I think. And that's the distance from the lip down to the base. And I was completely confused on why this is not lining up. Well, the drawing says 9.5 inches. It's really 8.5. The grill and the side burner are really close in distance from the lip to the bottom. The sink is completely off. I comment on this in a minute here, but why they couldn't just make the whole thing the same, I don't know. So this was, I think, probably Friday. I took Friday off. And in fact, I know it was Friday. I got actually quite a bit done. I was pretty pleased with the amount that I got done. But these uprights here on the right ended up being, they're going to be too long. I'm going to have to completely take them out and cut them down. And I mention that because it's Sunday now, and I've finished. I worked on it Friday, Saturday. Actually, I worked on it Friday. I didn't work on it at all on Sunday. My daughter is graduating college, which is pretty exciting, and we spent nearly the entire morning taking pictures. Got some really amazing pictures, and she wanted to, pop a bottle of champagne in the college fountain, so of course we did that. And a really great way to do that, by the way, iPhones or GoPros, whatever, if you can get at least 60 frames per second in 4K. You can film something, put it in iMovie, and then just capture the stills, and it looks like you captured the perfect shot, when in fact you're just pulling out a still from the video. 120 frames are even better, but if you have the ability to use iMovie, I would not even bother trying to get anything, I wouldn't even bother trying to take a picture anymore. Just shoot it in 4K. 60 frames per second, whatever the highest frames per second you can get. Even the new iPhone will do it in at least 60, and capture the stills out of the footage, and you look like a really great photographer. But anyway, so I worked on it all day Friday, and then took Saturday off, and then worked on it all day today, Sunday, and really didn't realize that this was going to be wrong over here in the corner. I'll show you that at the end, But anyway, at least I got the framing done, and the bottom of that cabinet, I used the 1-inch aluminum framing because I need a little bit more clearance for this door that we bought, the doors that go on either side. It needs to be as low as possible. I need that extra inch, so that's 2-inch box tubing all the way, top and sides, and it's 1 inch on the bottom. And that stuff is actually pretty rigid, but it's not a box. It's a U shape, so it's just not as strong as the 2-inch box beam. So here's a fantastic view of my back and my butt. Hope you enjoy that. I really should learn to put the camera in a better spot. I do try at the end of this video, and in upcoming episodes, I'll try to position the camera a little better so you can actually see what I'm doing. Anyway, I did completely finish this one side and get that sink in position, and I was working entirely off of the measurements on the schematics, and they're totally wrong, as I mentioned. The other thing about putting this sink in is I need to position the supports with enough room to fit the disposal. And the disposal that we're going to use is that stainless disposal that's super quiet. It's got a bigger motor on it. Maybe it's brushless. I have no idea, but it's big. And fortunately, the drain on this sink is far enough back where I'll have plenty of room. But it's coming out nice, Pretty pleased with with this process. It's slow going. Here I had my son come over, well, in a second here, and help me put the grill in position because, I'm finally at the point where I need the grill in there to measure up to see how high the granite supports need to be. And you can't pick it up by yourself. I did take out the grates and the briquettes and everything trying to get it lighter. But you can see I got everything in position and I'm pretty happy with it. Well, here's where we are. Got the bottom frame completely rebuilt, lowered, extended these frame rails all the way under the two side wings, mainly just to provide easy level surface. And it occurred to me that it was just easier to construct it this way. Today I'm going to build the cabinet here, and then I'm going to begin to bring the uprights up that'll support the granite all the way around. Interestingly, Alfresco designed these with 3 different heights. This is maybe 9 3/4, I think. This is 10 1/4, and this is 8 1/2. So since the grill is the highest at 10 1/4, which, oh yeah, you can see it here. Just slight difference if you look at the paint line in the back there. And then this one I have up on a 1/2 inch or a 1 inch box beam to help bring it up, but you can see it's still lower. Anyway, what I'll do is cut 1 1/4 inch spacers, clamp them to the bottom of this, and build up to it, and then that'll be the height for everything. 1 1/4 inch is the thickness of the granite. These cabinet openings are really just right for the doors that will go here, and the doors will go 21 inches, which is right about here-ish. So it's just about in line with this. 21 inches and almost 14 inches wide, so pretty much the entire width of that cabinet where the trash can will be. That'll be a stainless door. The handle will be here, and the handle will help to make it look like the sink is offset on purpose, because the handle will be right about here. And then the same with this one. I'm offsetting the side burner off to the left, and the handle will be right here. I think it'll look really nice. And those will give you some nice big, well, give me some nice big cabinets in there to stick stuff. This is the stone that we're going to use. It's exactly the same as the stone on the inside. And what I think we'll do is just stone this side. And then in the front, we're going to use silver travertine subway style tiles, because this stuff is just too thick to negotiate around all of this. It'll look the same gray color, gray and gold color, but it'll be flat. And then we'll take this product, put it around the 2 bases that we'll put here for this cabinet that doesn't exist yet. And then we're going to put it around the base of this column. Go a little wider here. We'll put it around the base of this column, and that column way over there. And I think it'll really look fantastic and tie everything in so this whole space looks uniform. So that's the plan. Today we'll take this side burner and the sink out and start to frame everything, finish up this first. This will be the first job this morning, is to finish that. So because I built the frame on the other side, or the wing, whatever, I had a clue how to do this, and it went smoother. The concrete pad that I poured, well, it's wrong. On the right-hand side under the sink, it's about a 1/2 inch, maybe even almost 3/4 bigger, which is perfect size. On the left side, it's that much distance too small. So I had to build the framing that hangs over a little bit on the inside. And it'll be fine because I'll be able to just slap a piece of concrete board on there, and it'll look fine. But could have been perfect if I had realized that my form for the concrete was actually not the same on either side. Amazing. Anyway, this was pretty straightforward. I just built it out, and that's actually a full beam there that I'm using to just clamp. I finally realized that if I get some freaking clamps and clamp the pieces together and mark them, I'm more accurate. Go figure, right? But I still haven't gotten a Sharpie to cut this stuff. I'm using a little screw to kind of scrape it to get a clean line. But anyway, using the clamps has really been functional to either clamp the level in place or clamp a tube so that I can use it as a level, or clamp things to mark it. Because like I mentioned, if you don't have these little angle brackets right in the perfect spot, when you screw them in, it separates and moves. And I wish I knew how to do this. I wish I knew if there was a process to get the screw right exactly in the center of the little angle bracket thing. But I don't, so I'm just kind of trying to be careful. All right, here I am taking apart the last of the pieces that were already screwed together from the original frame. And this is my version of measure 15 times and cut once. And then I even had to cut it again anyway, but it's not like wood. I keep saying that. I'll stop saying that. The stuff is a pain in the butt to deal with. Anyway, went together pretty well. And because I was able to just build the frame to hang over, you can actually, if you zoom in, you can see it on the right. You can see how that box beam is slightly hanging over the concrete by a good ½ inch. It won't matter in the end. Nobody will ever see it. But the stuff is incredibly strong, so you can just let it hang over like that and it doesn't even matter. So on this side at the end, you'll see there's just a whole bunch of beams in there. What ended up happening was I mentioned those beams were not long enough. They were about 2 inches short. And they come over far enough where I could get an L bracket in, but I wasn't confident that there was enough support on the far left wall of this cabinet to support the weight. So I ended up putting, I think, 3 extra beams in there. Here I'm trying to see if I can even fit a concrete board under there. If I could get a concrete board under there, then I could feel more confident putting flammable stuff under this cabinet, but I can't. It causes the side burner to be too high, in which case I would have to raise the grill. So I don't want to raise the grill. So I decided just to forego the concrete board altogether. Anyway, that was an example of using the clamps and level. And I cut these wood blocks at exactly 1.25 inches. And pretty much what I'm doing here is just trying to cut down those uprights enough so that I can fit the 1.25 inch block in between the beam and the side burner. And I got it within about an 1/8 of an inch. So what's going to end up happening is once the granite's in place, the side burner will be floating roughly 1/8 of an inch, not even, and sitting on the granite. And I think that's going to be fine. However, I can go in and put in little aluminum shims up underneath those 3 beams that it sits on to take the weight off the granite if I think it needs it. I think it's going to be fine, and it could just hang there like a slide-in. But just in case, it's only not even. It's more like a 1/16 of an inch. It's very, very, very close. But I did want it to be less because I certainly don't want a gap between the side burner and the granite. Here I'm doing the other side exactly the same way and just constantly checking it for level. And then this is actually as far as I go. I only do these 2 sides in this video because the next step would be, and I didn't realize this until it just made sense once I was done for the day.
But now that I have these two in there and they're perfectly level, they're level coming out from the wall and they're level side to side, I'll be able to clamp longer beams, which I'm out of beams, so I'm going to have to go back to Home Depot. But I'll be able to clamp a beam on these two pieces here, these where the granite's going to sit. And that'll give me a level line all the way to the other side, so I can make the sink the same exact height at the same level, same everything. I can just build up to the beam. You could use a string, I guess, but the nice thing about using a beam is it's rigid, right? So you can put the level on it, you know that it's level, and then build up to it. And I'll definitely use the clamps. It'll go much faster. I went ahead and cut the box beams for the sink at the end of the video here, but I didn't screw anything down because I knew that it was going to be, I can't tell if it's level, right, through the grill. So the grill has to come out, and I got to get my son to come over and help me with that. As I mentioned, the sink is only about 8.5 inches, so I put these 1-inch spacers in for the sink to sit on. And I really had to apply thought to how much room the disposal is going to take, so I can't have the beams that go straight through to hold the side burner on the other side on this side. I had to cut them short so that, and the sink isn't anywhere near as heavy as the side burner, but I had to cut them short to leave a big opening there for the disposal to come up and mate with the drain on the sink. Sorry about the camera position again. I can't seem to figure out where to get a good angle where you can see what I'm doing. All right, and here is the last of what I did this week. I cut this section here that'll hold the granite. And like I mentioned, I didn't bolt it in. I just cut it so that once, during the week, I'll pull the grill out and we'll figure this out.
Quite a bit of progress on this. I've got both of the wing cabinets on either side built. The framing to hold the granite is built. This is kind of an overkill over here, but what happened is some of the beams that came in from underneath the grill weren't long enough, so I just added support. It's rock solid, not going to go anywhere, and it's going to be covered with concrete board anyway. That's about the right size. It's slightly large, but there'll be a great big stainless steel door there and there. And this is not fastened down yet because I'm not sure of the height. I need to keep it completely level, right? So I'm going to, I need some more aluminum. I'm going to stretch aluminum beams across, clamp them down on this side, and then level them and build up to them on the other side here. That way I know that I'm perfectly level. And the last thing would be to add this type of framing here, the beams on either side, to either side of the grill, and then just kind of bridge them together with little pieces, and then put a piece of aluminum across the back wall. And that's really it for the framing. So probably 2 more pieces of aluminum. Oh, and then I have to deal with this over here, which is actually slightly tall. These two right here, I think I'm going to have to take them out and cut them down because I think I have them too tall. But I will know that once I stretch those 2 beams across. But it's really looking good. It's perfect height. Really glad I ripped out the original frame and redid it. And almost done with cutting aluminum, which if I ever do again, it'll be too soon. All right, so that's it for this video. Oh, there we go. A lot of work. It's coming out really good. Next video, I'll have all the components out, stretch that beam across, finish up the framing for the granite on this side, finish up the granite framing behind the grill, and then also the 2 pieces that come up on either side, and get it all perfectly level. And then I'm going to wash the whole thing out. It's full of sand and crap, aluminum shavings. So I'm going to wash everything out and then let it get good and dry. And then I'll start in on the electrical. Got a plane going over. Anyway, that's it for this video. Quite a bit of progress, and I'm happy with the way it's coming out. I was a little discouraged last week, but this week it's it's coming together. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe. I'll post another video next Sunday. See ya.